When you watch YouTube videos about making music, chances are that you're going to see a lot of fancy gear. Hardware synthesizers that cost hundreds, if not even thousands, guitars and effects pedals, sequencers, and a million different things, giving you the impression that you need all that stuff to make music. Well, all the fancy gear helps, of course, but I definitely have fallen prey to gear acquisition syndrome over the years. But at the core of my music lie still the same plugins that came for free with my audio interface more than 5 years ago. Although I have more expensive hardware effects by now, one of these plugins that I still return to all the time is Puremagnetik Fathoms. I got this for free together with a couple more of their plugins through their one-time collaboration with Focusrite, and you'll hear it all over my music because it's one of my favorite plugins for making ambient. If you've been following this channel, then by now you've probably realized that I really like Puremagnetik Plugins. I pretty much mention one of them in every one of my videos about music. I just happen to be a fan of their work because they make these really interesting effects and instruments, and I just really like those plugins. One of my most used plugins is Fathoms, and they describe it as an ambient spectral processor. It's a complex effect that combines several different effects into one plugin, and it's super interesting in what it produces. You can use it as a reverb, you can use it as a pitch shifter, and there's also a delay series in it. So there are different effects that feed into each other and can create quite interesting effects. I especially like it on synthesizers, but it also sounds very nice on guitar and on piano, and I really like it for many different reasons. I often use it to spark ideas because it is in a way very experimental. You can't really predict what comes out of it until you plug the instrument in there and see what happens, and I really like it for that. I like to put melodies in there to create variations sometimes, and it's quite interesting as a sort of collaborative effect. It helps you make nice things in a way, and it's unpredictable sometimes, and yeah, delay and space and what's not to love, right? I also like it for dark ambient stuff. If you plug something in there that is already quite dark, something even darker is gonna come out of it that sounds probably metallic because there's a resonating element to it, and it turns everything into a bit more of a metallic sound, and I really like the effect that it gives. It's just one of those effects that you can put on just about anything and something interesting is going to come out of it. It's not always going to be beautiful, but it's always going to be interesting, and that's something that I really appreciate about it. It's not a very difficult to use plugin. There are just a few controls. There's one knob that determines the dimension of the room reverb. It's the dimension of the resonating space you plug the signal into. Then there's the pitch, which is for the pitch shifting, obviously. And the vector modulates the pitch shifting direction. Swell and feedback control the delay series. Feedback is pretty obvious, you find that on pretty much any delay. And swell is a sort of modulation that can liven things up a bit. There's also deep and shallow, and these are Moog ladder style filters that can help with the tone shaping. There's also a freeze control, and with that you can freeze the input. It's like the freeze control that is on mutable clouds, and I use it in pretty much the same way. To show you how I normally make music with it, I thought I'd show you a track where Fathoms pretty much stole the show entirely. It all started out with a patch on the modular. I had something going with the Behringer Edge, which is a clone of the Moog DFAM, and I also had the chord organ in another voice. I controlled these randomly with the Neo Trinity, which is a CV source, and I had a random LFO selecting the chord shapes on the chord organ. This created some level of dissonance sometimes, and for this reason it was kind of hard to integrate the two layers into each other. To soften up the effect a little bit, I put the chord organ through Fathoms, and this helped to integrate it better with the edge, because I also put Fathoms on there, and quite heavily in this case. I used quite a lot of effects on that track. I have Pass Fabric, Vanisher, Fathoms and Shrike. You can see that I do like Puremagnetik plugins because I use mostly those in this track. And the reason why I used Pass Fabric and Vanisher was because on the edge there's only an 8-step sequencer, and that can get a little bit monotonous. So the Pass Fabric and the Vanisher were there to liven up the melody. Fathoms changed the sound quite a bit and brought it closer to what I had going on the chord organ track. I do like the original sound, and if it stood alone or with something that was less dissonant, I probably wouldn't have changed it, but with this I could manage to get the melody in the same space, and it fit much better like this, heavily processed. Normally I use Fathoms more like I do on the chord organ track as just something a little bit more subtle, but sometimes I also put a really heavy effect on there and change the sound drastically, like in this case, and that can work really well too. The last element in the track is Puremagnetik's Darklands, and that's really great for moody soundscapes, and that's what I used it for, to give it another point of interest. It's really the effects that carry most of the track and tie it all together in something coherent, and Fathoms was really important to give it that overall coherence of sound. And I think it showed pretty well how I tend to use Fathoms. Usually I'm not quite as heavy-handed as this, but you can see that you can also use it fully wet and it still sounds really cool. With a complex effect like this, you can of course also overuse it. That's a risk that you also take when you use something like mutable clouds or something like that, or even rings, and they can all be quite heavy sometimes, and they become quite recognizable too. So I try normally to dial it back a bit and don't use it fully wet and have it more running in the background a little bit. But I do like it also when it is in your face, like it is in the track that I made in this video. So if you don't know this plugin already, then do check it out. Also, they have tons of other cool plugins and I use them a lot, as you can see in this video. I had quite a lot of them on here. I tend to buy them when they are on sale in bundles, and then I have 3 or 4 that I will use on my next album or something like that. I do find a lot of inspiration in the plugins they make, so I thought I'd recommend you a few in these videos. If you enjoyed the music in this video, you can check out my bandcamp. There's a link in the description, and there you can find my latest release, Hypnagogia, that featured this plugin quite heavily, and there's also my album Endless Nights that also had a lot of Fathoms on it. So if you're interested in hearing more of it in action, then you can check that out. And do let me know what you think about this plugin. Do you think those kinds of plugins are a bit overused, perhaps? These complex effects like clouds and Fathoms and effects of a similar style. Do you use them? Do you avoid them? I tend to use them, and I love these kinds of plugins, and I do find endless joy in them, so I'm definitely a fan. But yeah, not everyone is into those kinds of plugins, and I would be curious to see what you think about them. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. It really helps out my channel, so I would really appreciate it. You can also support my channel on Ko-fi. There are different membership tiers where you can get early access to my videos or download the music in them. If you want to support what I do, that's the place to go. And I appreciate all the support you give me. So thank you for all your support, it really helps. And I hope I see you soon for another video. Bye!